Jay. It's so good to have you here. Thank you. We met at an ACG event, and we connected on the stories that we share, the war stories of some of the different things that we've experienced. I am so excited to have you on the show and to be able to share some of those stories with the audience that we have. So take us back. Tell me about 5-year-old you. Did you know that you would be here doing this, what you're doing right now?
Absolutely not.
What did you think?
In fact, if I had to go back in time and think of would I ever have a career in computers, and that was no.
Yeah.
In high school, I took what they called at the time a computer science class.
Okay.
And we were using old Tandy 1000. They were state of the art back then. I got so lost in understanding what they were talking about. I'm like, never would I ever have a career in the computer industry. And
here we are.
Here I am.
How did it parlay into that?
So I had gone into the electronics industry for a long time, repairing things, and the industry got to a point where nobody wanted to pay money to people to fix a 50-cent part.
Okay.
So we're swapping everything out. And so I said, well, I need to get better training. And so one of my teachers in electronics said, oh, you've got a very good mind for programming. So I went into programming and over 25 years built a career in management of computers. So
that's incredible. So tell me about what you're doing now and what your day-to-day looks like.
So I am what they call fractional CIO, which is Chief Information Officer. And I work with several different companies that are laying out a future roadmap for where they want to be. There are small companies, they want to use new and interesting technologies that are coming out that they can benefit from. And we've put together that plan. Okay, this is how you're going to get to those steps. And so I spend my time educating and showing businesses how to get the most of the best return of their IT dollars. Okay.
And so you're building the roadmap for them. You're helping them see the way. And when you mentioned companies that want to take on new technologies, how do you stay up to date with all of the different varying technologies that are out there?
That's an excellent question, because no person can really stay up to date on everything, right?
There's a lot, yeah.
I am focused mostly in two worlds: in the manufacturing world, which is a lot of AI, machine learning, IoT stuff, and the modeling, training, and simulation, which is all the virtual reality stuff, the metaverse, digital transformation, that kind of stuff that's coming out. So I rely heavily on the people that I know through my chain of 25 years and who is providing the best services out there.
Okay.
So I will help lay out the roadmap and then help them find the right people to implement it.
Okay.
It could either be their own IT staff, unless they're not trained, in which case we'll need to bring in trained people and then get their people trained.
I have so many questions. So you were talking about AI, you're talking metaverse.
And there is so much, especially here in the Orlando area, there's so much change going on in the IT world. It's amazing.
Yeah.
In Research Park, we've got some tremendous companies that are coming up with new technology.
Which is surprising, because you wouldn't normally think about that for Orlando.
No, but the biggest proponent to digital transformation is Disney.
Okay,
right?
That makes
Disney
sense.
has digitized everything about their parks. They know at a given moment who's in the park, the demographics of the people in the park. Like, they know everything. They track everything.
Wow.
So,
never really thought about that way. Yeah, I could see that. Okay.
Yeah, and the more you know about what's going on in your business, like from your supply chain and everything, the better you can run your business to optimize the better dollars for that, right? During when we started opening up again and all the ports were backing up, would have been great if your supply chain was digitized. So you go, oh, we've got to back up on this port, we have to reroute, or we've got bad storms in one part of the country and FedEx is going to shut down, so maybe for a week we need to reroute. those kind of things.
What is one of the most complex dynamic situations that you've seen within one of your clients?
Most complex. Can you be a little more specific? 'Cause that's like-
Complicated, multi-layered, or challenging to implement, challenging to get through, something that was really juicy.
Well, so the most complex is probably going to be Fannie Mae,
Okay.
where I worked. And not so complex in the fact of the IT that they had laid out, but the politics, right? So they had one contractor, majority of the IT department at Fannie Mae has been outsourced to different contractors.
Okay.
And not all the same contracting company. So you have contractors fighting with contractors.
Oh, yeah.
So I was working on one project where they needed to update 3,900 servers in a year. But they didn't want to spend a dime because they were going to save $39 million or whatever they were supposed to save. So they're like, we haven't assigned any dollars to this project. So one of their contractors, very large computer contractor, said, we can update one server a day. I'm like, and you've got 365 days to do 3,900 servers. So the complexity has always been the team players more than the technology itself.
People.
Right. So
You're speaking my language now.
right? Because the biggest problem in today's world is everybody is afraid of change.
Yeah.
But we are changing. Society has always changed,
Yeah.
right? And how many people said the internet was a fad,
Yeah.
right? But here it is to stay. But to go back in history, people said the telephone was a fad.
Yeah. And the ATM card, and there's a whole. Yeah.
People said stoves were a
Yeah.
fad. Air conditioning was a fad. So we are moving at a rapid pace, and those people who will survive are the people who are going to embrace that change.
And adapt to.
Companies who are going to survive need to embrace these changes. And I know there's a lot in the news right now about AI going crazy and
Yeah.
Skynet coming to, harm us. Reality is we don't know what all these technologies can do just yet.
Yeah.
We can be afraid of where it's going to go, or we can start learning and understanding from our imagination what could go wrong and try and maintain it at the time. But
Yeah.
stopping production of it or trying to demonize it, right? We had that one reporter that was like, oh, AI was, told me to leave my wife. It's like, okay, well, what did you do to bait that to get the story, right? And instead of trying to break it right up front,
Yeah.
let's see what we can use it for the betterment of man.
I like that, instead of trying to break it right up front.
Yeah, because we have had AI come up with the very first antibiotic that they hadn't been able to find for like 30 years, and AI was able to say, this is how you can build it.
Yeah.
And so there's stuff AI can do for us that we don't even see yet.
Now, we've talked a couple of times, especially at the ACG event, about the complexity of people and talent and systems as it relates to mergers and acquisitions and some of the space that we share in common in that way. Where do you think AI plays in between both? Not just helping companies find other companies to acquire, or what the great deals are, who has the money, but merging the two in a way that helps accelerate the value creation once the companies are combined together?
That's a more difficult question because there are so many variables that the AI needs to be set up for, right? So you don't just get AI out of the box and it will impart all its wisdom.
No, it doesn't work like that. That's so disappointing.
But I can tell you that I am working on a solution with another company called Rocket Technologies, and what they have done is able to help engineers design products and cut down their design time
Okay.
by up to 50%.
Wow.
Right. So if you figure in the car industry, it used to take about 10 years to design a car, from the beginning to the design to it goes into production. 10 years. Now you can cut it down to about 5 years.
Wow.
So what kind of savings is that for those companies, right? How quick can we get things to market? And that's just in the car industry, but it helps every industry, right? So if you're designing things and you say, I want to change one thing, I want to drill a hole in a heat shield on a rocket, or I want to change a bolt on a fighter, that's going to affect a lot of things.
Sure.
Right? So how do you document all that? And back in the day, people would go through with highlighters and all these different documents and send it out to people and say, okay, everyone
here's the
needs to
changes,
sign off
right?
on it.
The SOPs are different now, sure.
Now, with the proper tools, you can click a button, it brings up all those documents right away. It knows exactly what to reference. It'll send it out to the stakeholders, and then the stakeholders can sign off on it within hours or days, right, depending on their schedule of being in the office, instead of months.
Wow.
So that change management alone can help people design better products, get it out quicker, and be more profitable for their stakeholders.
So if I'm an investor, or if I'm looking at acquiring a company and AI is a part of the equation, I'm looking at time to efficiency, time to production, looking at the workforce plan to see maybe there's less people needed, or maybe they operate faster, and so it changes the way that the world even works. When you are out, so this rocket fuel company, entrepreneurial based, what are most of your clients like? Are they entrepreneurs? Are they large enterprise? Are they working through M&A? What's your portfolio specifically?
So they're going to be not startup entrepreneurs. They're going to be more larger, small businesses to the medium size, up to larger corporations, right? With what we're doing with Rocket Technologies, that is going to require the larger companies that aren't making $400 million in revenue a year, because they're the ones that are designing these bigger projects and need to get it out quickly. And there's government regulations that are pushing more for this. The government's kind of slow to ramp up on this, but certain agencies have been ramping up on it. This has been tested in NASA, in Mercedes, in a lot of very large companies, and it's saved them millions.
Wow.
And there are other larger companies out there doing this same solution. But when you hire a larger company, they come in with a much larger staff. And whether or not it works, they'll eventually get it to work, but it may cost you a lot more money than you thought. Or you can work with a smaller company where if you've got a problem, you're talking to the CEO. And so we can do the same thing that the larger companies can do at about 15% of the cost that they can do.
Oh, wow. That's pretty incredible.
And we're quicker, we're more agile. So
the boutique firm gives you that flexibility in a way to where you can customize and be a little more creative in how you respond and service them. How do you see networking in your world?
That's a great question. And I guess I see it in several different ways. The first thing is, one, be genuine. I have known people through years who go to a networking event, they're just passing out cards. They'll never make a significant interaction with anyone. Be genuine. Really get to know the people you're talking to. And that's one of the reasons why we've connected, is because of that. Two, people have to get really good at speaking. And there are a lot of programs out there, but if you want a really great program that teaches you how to speak, but also teaches you leadership, Toastmasters International.
Interesting, okay.
I have been with Toastmasters 10 years. I have been president of several clubs, and I am the area director for 4 clubs in the Claremont, Ocala area. So get better at speaking. Why? Because in today's world, we need to speak all the time. And it doesn't matter what your job is, but you need to speak more, right? And whether it be on a podcast, whether it be giving a webinar or seminars in person or having a conference, people need to speak more. And if you're an entrepreneur and you need to get your message out there, speaking better and being more articulate is the best way to do it.
Interesting. And so Toastmasters is an avenue to be able to learn, practice, and connect with ideas and ways to do that, I imagine. Okay.
Exactly. But getting your point across is the best way to really get your company moving. because that's the most important thing. People want to know why you, right?
Yeah.
And that was one question people used to ask me early on, that people were like, why you?
Uh-huh.
I always hated that question.
Yeah. How'd you answer then? And how'd you answer now?
So I can't tell you how I answered there, because I was like, well, I don't know. But the reality
That's still an answer, but yeah.
The reality is I've been in the industry almost 30 years. I have so much history in this industry. And if you're hiring a lone eagle like me, you get me. You don't get a junior person. And there are a lot of companies out there today that have guys right out of trade school. And they're like, okay, today you're going to be a fractional CIO. Okay. I mean, sure, they can try and put together a budget based on, 100 other companies, but they're not really going to do the work that people really need.
Somebody or an entrepreneur building a business, and they were to want to garner some of your experience and borrow some of your confidence in the journey that you've had, what one piece of parting advice would you give them?
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Even when it seems darkest.
Yeah.
You never know when that right connection's going to hit. You never know when somebody's going to call you that you talked to a year ago and you forgot about. Don't give up. That is the biggest thing I can tell anyone.
That's powerful. And I know that in a lot of ways it's not always easy, and that resonates, right? The whole idea of the podcast from the very beginning came because I started to question and wonder if I was going to give up. Because it does get hard, and especially the first time you go into business on your own, you wonder, was this the right decision? It feels different. You go through a whole mental and emotional process of change.
I grew up acting.
Okay.
My whole family were actors. And the reality is, you see all these, every year, the award shows, you'll see all these people, and they're like, here's a new breakout actor or actress, right? Like, nobody ever heard of this person before. And then one day on a Sunday afternoon, you're going back, you're watching all these old movies, and you go, hey, wait a minute. There's that actor or actress, like years ago, before they were ever famous. And the reality is, people practice. People are always out there doing their thing until something finally breaks. And as an entrepreneur, even if you're a serial entrepreneur, don't give up, because you keep practicing that until eventually it breaks. And then people will be like, where have you been? Right?
Not why you anymore, but now where have you been all my life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say that.
I like the idea of that, not giving up in the time, space, and effort between when something tips, of being practice.
Right.
Because it feels like a lot of work, it feels like a lot of effort, it's a lot of fun, but it also feels like it's a lot of, pushing a boulder uphill. But it really is practicing the craft that you go into business to do, what you are passionate about and love, which is why people go into entrepreneurship to begin with. So keep practicing and don't give up. I love it.